Hello, family. Thanks for joining me again. This week, we're going to discuss how we can minister to the Lord. So, what exactly does that mean, to minister to the Lord? When we minister to the Lord, we are offering Him all of our worship. We're offering Him all of our words and all of our works. Ministering to the Lord is the work and the action of His people. That's what ministering to the Lord, the works and the actions of His people. So, does that mean that our actions save us or are meaningful in that way? No, we're only saved because of the grace that Jesus Christ gave to us. But once we realize that our actions can't save us and our works can't save us, then what happens is the works that we have or the works that we do come as a result of adoration and worship to Him. So once we get into the habit of putting God first, then everything else will follow. So let's look at a story that I had outlined in Luke 10, verse 38. All right, and I'll read it real quick. Luke 10, verse 38. As Jesus and His disciples were on their way, He came to a village where a woman named Martha opened her home to Him. She had a sister called Mary who sat at the Lord's feet listening to what He said. But Martha was distracted by all the preparations that had to be made. She came to Him and asked, "Lord, don't you care that my sister has left me to do the work by myself? Tell her to help me." "Martha, Martha," the Lord answered, "you are worried and upset about many things, but only one thing is needed. Mary has chosen what is better, and it will not be taken away from her." So here's a story of two sisters, and it's a really interesting story because you have two almost different scenes or scenarios that's happening. You have Mary that is expecting Jesus, sees Jesus, and as soon as He comes in, is just kind of paying attention to every word that Jesus is saying, sitting at His feet, listening to His teachings. And then you have Martha that is more trying to make sure that everything is in order and making sure that all the food and all the supplies, everything is kind of taken care of. She's making sure that everything is in order. So when you see these two types of individuals, it's interesting because as worshipers, as musicians and singers, sometimes we tend to fall in line with the Mary side of things, where we're so caught up with the worship aspect or the technology aspect of everything that we want to make sure everything is in order, and that's great. That's how it's supposed to be. Even myself, when I'm up here worshiping, I'm always making sure, is my guitar in tune or is my vocals up to par? And so my mind is kind of focused on that, which isn't exactly a bad thing. I don't think Jesus was chastising Martha, but what I think you should take away from the story, or we can take away from the story, is Jesus is saying those things are necessary to prepare the service and the works, but at the same time are you coming to me first and listening to what I have to say? Are you ministering to me? Are you spending time with me? So, as worshipers and singers and musicians, the technological side of things, I understand, has to be taken care of. But the first and foremost thing that we need to do is minister to God and kind of spend time with God. So even in verse 42, Jesus is saying that Mary has chosen the better. So He's not saying that what Martha was doing was wrong, but He's saying that Mary has chosen better. So Jesus Himself is saying that we need to come at His feet first, sit at His feet, minister to Him, acknowledge Him, receive His word, and then if we have to go do all the works and all these different things, that's fine. Okay? So in the devotional, I had mentioned a story about Abraham Lincoln and an elderly woman. So it's actually interesting because all she wanted to do was just appreciate the president for who he was and all the things that he's done. And she brought him some cookies. And it's interesting because even he was astonished and said, usually people come to me and ask me for so many different things, but you've come here just to appreciate me. And so, when we come into the presence of God, we have to kind of come in that attitude where we just want to appreciate God first and acknowledge Him for who He is. Then we can go and ask and petition for different things and do all the things that we need to take care of within the service or even in our own lives. So the message here is really just being able to minister to Him, to kind of worship Him, spend time with Him first. First comes God, and then all the other things will come afterwards. Okay? So in the reflection, what can we do before, during, or after, and after the worship service to minister to the Lord? So what can we do to put God first in before our service, during our service, and after the worship service? So spend some time and discuss amongst each other, and I hope you learned something from this, and looking forward to seeing you next week. Take care and God bless.